One of the most confronting, dark, and honest books is found in the Bible. In this book, we encounter a conversation with a critical teacher of life who bluntly spits out the truth. After walking through Proverbs, a book that exhales hope and wisdom, we come across Ecclesiastes, a deeply heartbreaking writing that judges humanity for wasting its existence, chasing the wind and being chained to its own vanities. Beloved by many and avoided by others, Ecclesiastes is one of those books that must be read at least once in a lifetime, for we all need rawness and honesty at some point. Even though it confronts us with the absurdity of our existence, it is a necessary book to pause, breathe, and reflect that our time on earth is not only limited, it is uncertain and fleeting. Therefore, we must use it wisely, for the man who lives anxiously chasing the wind forgets to live. In this video, I present to you the disturbing wisdom of Ecclesiastes. Everything is absurd. What does man gain from all his labour at which he toils under the sun? Asks the bitter teacher at the beginning of the book, and he is right to ask. Our life, in contrast to the vast universe, is an ephemeral blink. What we are, do, or achieve brings little consequence to the infinite dance between order and chaos in the cosmos. The sun keeps burning, the wind keeps blowing, and the planets keep turning. Our actions are Hevel vapor wind. They fade forgotten in the deep void of space-time. Not even memories will we be. Matter will rearrange, energy will transform, and to the dust of the stars we will return. The author uses the Hebrew word Hevel 38 times. It is commonly translated as a vanity, but its meaning goes far beyond that. Hevel is something that seems to have shape, but dissolves like mist when touched. And that is precisely the central theme of Ecclesiastes. Our existence is like vapor. It seems to have form and meaning, but it dissipates quickly. No one can capture it, understand it, or control it. In the blink of an eye, some die and others are born. Generations come and go, and humanity lives the same story over and over again through different characters. Corruption, perversity, wisdom, vanity, wars, peace, tyrants, and heroes. Everything begins, develops, and ends only to begin again. The teacher says, what has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Escaping our cyclical condition is impossible. Man not only falls again and again into his mistakes out of foolishness, he needs them. What frustrates us, our wars, our anguish, has already been lived. Some faced them bravely, others gave in and surrendered to the corruption of their being. The teacher reminds us that our life is absurd. We arrive without knowing it and leave without wanting to. Time runs and we run with it. Anxious for a future no one can know and for a life no one can control. The only certain thing in this bittersweet journey through existence, says the author, is death. It is the same tragic ending for all, rich and poor, wise and foolish, good and evil. Death does not discriminate. It is an impartial judge sentencing everyone equally. This is the author's raw way of reminding us of death, not as a variation of memento mori, which focuses on virtue and the pursuit of righteousness through remembering our mortality, but rather on the absurdity of chasing riches, pleasures, and vanities only to die. And even more absurd is that in life the righteous will be condemned and the wicked will live like kings. In a world that has killed God, as Nietzsche would say, injustice under the sun will never be impartial. It will crucify the innocent and glorify the corrupt. Darkness will rise, only to be overthrown by a spark of goodness, and goodness will be brutally torn apart on the wood of the cross by darkness. At this point in his reflection, the teacher expresses his contempt for life. What does man gain from all his efforts and from the striving with which he labours under the sun? He also recognises that the efforts to be wise and to work and worry to accumulate wealth are nothing more than Hevel, a reality that vanishes without warning because death will knock at the door, and nothing of what you achieved, conquered or obtained will you take with you. Ironically, we live as though we are certain to wake up tomorrow. That is why we assume we will be able to do what we did not do today. And by wrongly conceiving life as a continuous and predictable event, we convince ourselves that we still have time. And when we believe we have time, we choose what paradoxically steals our soul. How many of us have spent hours of our lives on erotic content, repetitive video games, morbid series, futile relationships, and trivial goals? We pursue wealth, power, and influence, only to end up as fertilizer for the grass. We worship money, yet even the rich do not live in peace. Some tell themselves, I'd rather cry on a yacht than on public transport. But that's the point. You're crying. You're still crying, and the yacht is not there to warm or comfort you. Many long for the wealth of Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, or Elon Musk. But would they be willing to live the lives they live? We envy another's life because we do not know the totality of their life. We see what we want to see, not what it truly is. Instead of being grateful for what we have and seeing the present as a gift to make better decisions, we run anxiously after a life that is not ours, and a future that does not yet exist. We create anxieties in life to hide the mystery of its meaning. We seek meaning in work, vocation, relationships, or pleasure. That is why so many philosophical currents arise attempting to argue the meaning of life. Stoicism, Epicureanism, hedonism, existentialism, absurdism. All add their perspective to a reality that ultimately vanishes like vapor. Some center their lives on the pursuit of wisdom and knowledge but end up more overwhelmed than satisfied, and the teacher makes this clear. The more wisdom, the more grief, the more knowledge, the more sorrow. Even the endless pursuit of wisdom is a source of weariness. The author is not telling us to live foolishly. He instructs us to live in balance, appreciating life, seeking wisdom without excess, and learning from what there is to live, for there is a time for everything. The teacher would say, everything has its appointed time. There is a season for every activity under heaven. Life is rich in experiences, and because we are not perfect nor absolute knowers of our nature, the universe, or our purpose, we must learn to live, for we are not born with that knowledge. That is why the teacher says, I know that there is nothing better for a person than to be happy and to do good while they live. And I know that it is a gift of God that a person should eat, drink, and find satisfaction in all their toil. Here the teacher seems contradictory. First he states that it is absurd to toil for life, and then that we must enjoy the toil God has given us. Yet what he says is brilliant. He criticizes us for vain striving, but also encourages us to enjoy what God has provided. It is a poetic way of saying, embrace the present. Do the best you can with what you have. You are not called to be perfect nor to meet every standard. You are called to be intentional, to live in harmony, and to enjoy what has been created for you. To fall, to rise, to dust yourself off and continue. Eat, drink and celebrate, but also weep, suffer and rest. Today you can embrace your parents. Tomorrow you may not know. Today you can do good work. Tomorrow you may not be here. Today you can love. Tomorrow you may regret. The author's critique centers on the fact that most of our desires, projects and aspirations are not for our benefit. They serve the ego. And the ego, remember, is the opposite of the spirit. For the ego is never satisfied with the present. It needs to control past, present and future. That is why we live so anxiously, so the ego can celebrate its small victories which will eventually fade with time. You will not be remembered for how many women you seduced, nor for how many video games you completed. You will not be remembered for your earnings, nor for your status. You will die, and those who loved you will remember you. But when they die, what remains of you is nothing but Hevel. No one teaches us to pause, to consciously observe the present and enjoy it for a moment. The world, society and culture subtly lead us into a hyper-productive lifestyle where simply living is inefficient. What matters is producing. From a very young age, we are programmed to live in a system that worships anxiety and paradoxically introduces distractions and vices as rest from daily toil. The time for our individual development is hijacked by our irrational need to follow the steps of the world. Not only is there an evident intention to strip us of our appreciation for life through unnecessary anxieties, that is why the teacher is absolutely right to say everything is absurd. Few live authentically and in harmony with life. Few are content with who they are, what they have, and what they do. Most of us live worried about vanities. How does the world see us? How do we secure our future? How do we find a partner? How do we improve our status? But none of this makes sense if we lose our life in the process. And I do not mean physical life, but the desire to live, the inner flame waiting to be ignited. The teacher's conclusion is, live in balance. Enjoy life's experiences wisely. Wise experiences wisely. It is okay to crash and fall, but it is important to get back up. Slow down, appreciate that you are alive, that you can sleep, drink and eat, that you can think, reason and exercise will. Be grateful that you are living a unique and unrepeatable experience which, even if it does not unfold as you would like, will never come again. This is one life, and that's it. Game over. No one knows when their hour will come. Do not fall into the traps of the world. Live in the world without belonging to it. The teacher says, do not be overly righteous, nor overly wise. Why destroy yourself? And he continues, do not be overly wicked, nor be a fool. Why do you before your time? The book of Ecclesiastes ends in chapter 12, recognizing that everything we do without God is meaningless. For without God, it is man who must invent and force meaning into life. But because he cannot see the intention of the Creator, he cannot see that creation is at his disposal, and thus must distract himself with trivialities. Therefore, says the teacher, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. God will judge every deed, good or evil, even what is done in secret. So my friend, I invite you to live virtuously, to be a man intentional in goodness, to build yourself in wisdom without crossing into madness, to cultivate appreciation for the present, to remember that your time in this life is a blink of an eye, to love yourself. Be authentic, be natural, be free. I invite you, my friend, to seek the way, the truth, and the life.